Chapter 15. A rite for a woman giving birth without a husband. The Vedic civilization, Vladimir, had many rites. The word rite is not entirely appropriate for such acts, but I simply cannot think of an alternative. Footnote: the Russian word for rite, or obryad, pronounced abryat, is derived from the verb to dress or to enrobe, and initially signified to dress a spiritual concept into a material form, referring to an action or symbol based on deep spiritual insights and giving an actual physical embodiment to these insights. Let us use it for the sake of brevity, only you must understand that in today's language, the Vedic rite could easily be termed a scientific and rational act on the part of man, one grounded in the knowledge of all the diverse energies of the universe and their interrelationship with man's soul. These rites, as you know, were thought out by generations of wise men and enlightened thinkers who also connected them with the stars. Subsequent generations checked their effectiveness in practice and perfected them as the years went by. One of these rites was for women who were carrying and giving birth to a child far from their husbands. Such situations did exist in the Vedic civilization, albeit rarely. It might happen that a woman's husband was obliged to go on a long trek somewhere. His pregnant wife, left at home, carried out an outwardly simple rite, but one which lasted a long time and was very complex in terms of the mind and will. If the woman's love for the child's father was strong, she achieved her goal on her own and bore a fully fledged child. She was assisted in this by the great energy of love. What actions did this rite involve specifically? In our modern-day society, there are also women who are obliged to carry a child and then give birth without their husbands around. Maybe the rite you speak of would apply to them. Over the 9-month period, a pregnant woman whose husband is absent should spend at least 3 hours a day communicating with her child in the father's name, sometimes also conversing mentally with the father about the future child. They might argue, but under no circumstances should they allow any suggestion of aggression to enter in, even during an argument. The parents' dialogue should always proceed in a spirit of goodwill, both toward each other and toward the child. The dialogue should preferably take place at the same time each day. The woman's communication with the child in the father's name may be divided into 2 segments, evening and morning. Approximately 15 to 19 minutes before engaging in this kind of mental dialogue, the woman should definitely take a small amount of easily digestible food or drink, which will be healthful both to her and the child. The drink taken in preparation for the mental dialogue should not vary over the course of the 9 months, and should not be used in any other circumstance or for any other purpose. I, for example, prepared a drink consisting of about 100 grams of cedar milk, 3 drops of cedar oil, and a pinch of pollen. I also took a little honey on a twig, mixed everything together in a wooden bowl, and drank it in tiny swallows. The drink could also be made from other substances, only they must definitely be natural, ecologically clean, and easily digestible by the mother's body, as well as healthful and pleasing to the child in the womb. That is very important. If the mother's drink is not healthful or pleasing to the child, he will associate the dialogue with his father with an unpleasant phenomenon, and afterwards reject his father and resist communication with him. After the birth of the child, the woman should take the same drink shortly before a feeding, at which she plans to communicate with her nursling in the father's name. If the father does not return by the time the child ceases to take his mother's milk, the mother's drink should never be given to the child until the moment of his first contact with his father. The woman also needs to choose a star in the heavens through which to communicate with her beloved man, a star to think upon each time before initiating a mental dialogue with her child. In this mental communication, the woman should formulate as distinctly as possible a thought picture of the child's father, his character, annotations, and worldview, without falsification or embellishing any details. If she has a difference of opinion with him, she should try to explain her point of view, not aggressively, but lovingly. Instead of blaming the man for misunderstanding, she should point the finger to herself as incapable of setting forth thoughts understandably and convincingly. Or possibly she should think more carefully about what her husband has said. In addition, during her dialogue, the pregnant woman should stroke her tummy while cherishing an image of the father in her thought. And it is very important, while conversing mentally with her husband, to rule out all negative aspects that might have occurred earlier. It is vital to remember only the good while communicating with him. The woman should spend as much time as possible of the 9-month period in real solitude. Then the child will feel both her and his father. And if the husband and father is not physically present, the child will still find himself in his father's aura. If the woman carries out the aspects of this rite, the man will come back to her and their child. Even if earlier his love was weak or was not there at all, love will flare up in him with unaccustomed strength and provoke him to good deeds. Many Vedas women knew the effectiveness and power of this rite. Later, the wise men tried to erase it from women's memories and turn to it only when they were confident that the woman was not harboring any perverse feelings. What kind of perverse feelings, Anastasia? A woman in love could, through the help of this rite, seduce a man who was not in love with her, even if he were living with another wife, and even if they had not had intimate relations. But how could it happen if they had not had intimacy? Without intimacy, a child could not have been conceived at all, and in that case, who could she talk to about a father? No matter what man she conceived with, she might try communicating with her child in the name of her most beloved, thereby drawing this man closer to herself. Not only that, but the child will eventually, even outwardly, bear a greater resemblance to her most beloved, rather than the man who was actually with her. You know that, Vladimir, from the phenomenon of telogyny. Yes, I know, Anastasia, but why are you giving out this information that the wise men suppressed? Now some women will start luring men they fancy away from their families with the help of this rite. It shouldn't be published. You needn't be concerned about publishing it, Vladimir. I purposefully left out one particular aspect out of my description. Now it will not destroy any happy families. But if you were to leave out some aspect, why didn't the wise men do the same? The wise men did not know what to put in its place. But if the wise men didn't know, how could you possibly know? Besides, Anastasia, you said that the wise men always checked the effectiveness of their rites in practice, but you didn't have the opportunity to do that. I did. When? With whom? Oh, God. I remembered Anastasia's words from many years ago. I didn't pay attention much to them back then, but now she said, I shall restore to you the respect of your daughter and the love of your wife. Footnote originally conveyed through Anastasia's grandfather. See Book 2, Chapter 26, Anastasia's grandfather. It's incredible, but she did it. But why then is my wife not jealous of Anastasia? And why does my daughter have such respect for her? I went back to see my family this year. Anastasia was able to perform the incredible. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. All our earthly institutions taken together, institutions that pride themselves on their technological achievements, are incapable of solving the number one problem on the earth: how to restore love and respect to families. But she can. Oh Lord, what a colossal, truly divine knowledge mankind is losing. Why? Who can give an answer? And what strength of love Anastasia herself is worthy of. What she has accomplished will probably be appreciated more by our descendants than by people today. I feel like doing something very nice for her. I went over to Anastasia, got down on one knee, and kissed her hand. She also got down on her knees and embraced my neck. I heard her heart beating and sensed the extraordinary aroma of her hair, her intoxicating breath, the fragrance of mother's milk as though it was coming from my own mother's breast, and I whispered, "What can I do to be worthy of you, Anastasia?" She did not answer, only pressed my head a little more strongly to her breast. My life has probably never been blessed with happier seconds, hours, or days than these.